again. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right.
Hey everybody, my name is Sondra Ray, and we're going to get to the right screen. Hi everybody, welcome to the Coffee Chat Show. My name is Sondra, and I am one of the hosts of the show where we talk about all things business all over the world. I am based in the United States. Most of my lovely panel is on the opposite side of the world. So today's topic, we're talking more about culture. So this time we're talking about your company culture. Last week we talked about hiring and how to get the right people in your company. And today we're going to talk about how to keep that culture positive and, of course, moving forward and doing all the good things. Hi, Peter. How are you?
Hi, Sondra. I'm good. Thank you. This is going to be an interesting topic. This is going to be a very interesting topic. I'm not too sure. You want me to go ahead and just
dive right on it. Yeah, dive in while I go talk to the nice live YouTubers.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so I think one of the first things that I want to mention is that culture does not just magically appear. It doesn't just poof, there it is. You don't get to write it down on a piece of paper and all of a sudden it's just like that. Does not happen. Culture is something that's cultivated, it's built, it takes time. But then the question is, how do we get to a point within our business or within our space? And you know what, it doesn't matter if it's even in business. It can be in your personal space. But it doesn't just happen. You have to create it. And then we need to look at the tool. What are the tools or what are the requirements that are required to make culture happen? I think the operative word there being make. It's a verb. It's something you do. It doesn't just magically happen. So I think we need to go back to the very beginning. And the beginning of creating culture is learning about who you are, number one. Because your space represents you. If you are leading a space that intends to be larger than just yourself, it needs to be representative of who you are. So you need to go on a journey. Figure yourself out. Figure out what are your values, what are your beliefs, what do you believe in, what do you want your space to feel like when there are people in it? What do you want those people to feel like when they're in your space? And so culture can actually be created by design. It can be created, it can be cultivated. I think one of the most difficult things to ever do is to step into a space that has a negative culture and change the culture. That, ladies and gentlemen, takes a true leader. To step into a space and change a culture is probably one of the most difficult things ever. So my advice, start the right way and build the culture that you require. Don't just think that if I hire all these people, they will automatically engage with each other and create a culture. No, the culture relies on you because you lead the space. So I think one of the most beautiful things is the fact that it can be by design. And I think a lot of people miss that. They're like, oh, I'm just going to build the space. I'm just going to add all the people. And then this beautiful culture will just start to exist. It doesn't happen that way. Um, there's, and I often see and this is not to bash corporate. Corporate has its space and they achieve some amazing things around the world. However, in the corporate space, to create culture is probably one of the most difficult things to actually do. It is very difficult. And there are some incredible leaders out there that are actually getting it right. They're actually getting it right to create culture within a corporate space. Um, you know, and if I look at some of, and I wouldn't call them my heroes, but people that I would actually look to if I was looking to go, that man leads by example. There are a few people that most of the people in the world will. It's a very familiar name, but I've been watching a lot of Gary Vee lately, and some of the comments that he's been making, some of the statements that he's been making, very short and sweet, but extremely powerful, where he's telling people that nobody's going to work as hard in your business as what you are because they're employees, but it's your business. And if you're looking to create a culture within your space, it all goes back to your values, and it all goes back to when you were on your own and your space didn't exist. Um, and this is, I think, where the students that we have currently in the Ignite program, and they are in the background, they're probably watching on YouTube. We'll be engaging with them later and some of their questions. But when you start, look at who you are, your values. What will you do? What won't you do? What will you stick to? What will you hold? Like what foundation will you create that is steadfast? What space will you create that is secure and safe for people to step into? And then by setting those values, and not only setting them, you don't set them and write them on a piece of paper, put them in the drawer, and then go, oh, by the way, those are our values. Those need to be communicated. It needs to be built by you and the people within your space that have an understanding of what your values are. And then by everybody behaving in that fashion, that starts to create the culture of a space because everybody is lined up to the same values. If you want to keep that culture, because cultures can be short-lived, if you want to keep the culture, then what you need to do is make sure that everybody in the space that understands the values also understands the vision. Because if they don't understand the vision of where you're going, if they don't understand what part of the journey are they a part of, and then they also don't understand how to behave in that space, then your culture will just start to diminish until it becomes its own little monster. Now, none of us want our own little monsters. We want to have a space where people can thrive, where they can push, where they can be part of, where they can be safe, very important. And it all starts from us as individuals. That's where it starts. It doesn't start when you step into a space that exists and you just create a culture. Oh, I write it down, it's a culture. Oh, I'll put it on the whiteboard, it's a culture. No, that's just a word on a board. It means absolutely nothing. It's how the people interact with each other on a consistent basis that creates a culture within a space. Now, I think that actually opens up the floor quite a bit for some discussion, and I'm actually really interested to hear what everybody has to say on this topic because we're all in completely different spaces, which is so the comments are going to be really cool.
I love that. I love it, Peter. I have a question for you because this has been an interesting topic between myself and a client, and feelings matter in a company culture. And I get ticked when people say it's just business, no feelings. And I'm like, to a certain extent, yes, you can't please everybody. So there is a certain to that, but what it flat out was like, it's not personal, it's just business. And I'm like, okay, but you really just ran it at me for 2 hours about my values and my anyways, so am I valid in the fact that feelings are a part of your culture? Like people are people. Your business is human beings, so feelings do
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. You know what I'd like to say is to the people that say it's just business, nothing personal is just business. Well, it kind of feels personal, doesn't it? It always feels personal. And the reason it feels personal is because it is personal. You are a person functioning within business. So, I think when people are saying it's nothing personal, it's just business, it's just a way of covering their asses and enabling them to do the thing that they want to do. And you should be okay with it, even though you're not. So, if I catch myself saying that to somebody in business, I would rather go around the corner and strangle myself for a couple of seconds because then I've created a culture and a space where I need to say it. I would like to create a space where I don't need to say it. So if I don't need to say it, then there wouldn't be that many issues or that many problems. We could actually just have a conversation. Even if your performance had been lacking, I could come to you and instead of going, your performance is down, I could rather come to you and go, are you okay? And I can achieve the same results with a different conversation. So I shouldn't have to say it's nothing personal. It is personal. And I think that from an employee's perspective, when their boss or their, like the head honcho comes into their space and goes, how are you doing? Like, are you okay? And deals with the actual matter at hand and not just the performance, that actually encourages the performance. So you're getting the results, but just with a different conversation. And that's when culture will, and I'm going to quote Mr. Levy. Culture, eats something for breakfast. I know this one. Mr. Levy.
Come in, Mr. Levy. Come say Peter.
Save me.
Oh, you're muted, my dear.
Yeah, they say culture eats strategy for breakfast, but I don't.
Awesome. Culture
But I
eats
must,
breakfast.
yeah, I must tell you, Pete, while you're chatting about that, so don't go away, is I often question it because you can have a strong culture and no strategy, you're probably not going to get too far. If you have a strong strategy and no culture, I can assure you it's going to be a bit of chaos, because you're not going to be consistent in your delivery. And so culture is extremely important. I think, so I have my own saying of that is when culture and strategy align, you can actually have a breakfast of your choice.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Because I think they're both important. On their own, they're not really strong enough.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like teamwork, we can each of us here are good at one thing or many things, but we're not good at everything. So on our own, we can be strong. Together, we can be exceptionally strong. We can be powerful.
I love that.
So I think, just coming, but it was interesting what you said about a culture is built and it's cultivated, sure, because it starts. So if you're a startup, it's important to understand, yes, yourself, your own personal values, but your business, as Sondra correctly said, your business is a living entity because it's made up of people. So your business itself also has a culture, and those values or those non-negotiables in your business should also be it's the DNA of your business, and they're not necessarily the same as your personal cultures, although they can be. Like, for example, I can give you, like in my practice, respect is very high in my personal core values, but it's also number one in my business. But I don't have teamwork, for example, in my personal core values, but I have teamwork in my business and service excellence. And I know a lot of people use integrity and all those things. I think sometimes they are a given, but service excellence and teamwork are generally pretty strong and common throughout a lot of businesses. And I think it's really is, are they the non-negotiables? And that defines your culture, because your values is how they really guide our behavior, and they also guide our decision making when it really comes to the tough decisions. And that's where you will really see whether the culture is being lived or not. And a culture is not, it's not something that's static, it's fluid. It moves and continuously, because if you're not living it, then don't even have it, as you said, on the wall. Put up a picture, put up something that inspires your staff when they come in. But when you're going in, so there are two different approaches, I suppose. Is the one when you're starting up your business, it's going to be very much what's not negotiable in your business in terms of your service delivery. How is your behavior and your performance contributing to what you want to deliver? And what are those non-negotiables that govern that behavior and performance in your business? Then when people come into your business, when you grow your business and you start employing them, besides going through and ticking all the boxes in terms of their skills, have the discussion with them about your values, your business values, not your own personal values, your business values. Because this is where they're coming to work. Because when you start building a team, if you take the 5 of us on this group here tonight, we all have different personal core values. But how do we tie that all into Explore ProTech? We need to understand, do our personal core values align? They're not the same, but do my personal core values align to Explore ProTech's business values? If they don't, then maybe I need to go and look somewhere else. So I don't think there's ever a good or bad culture. There's a culture that works for you, and there's a cultures where you don't. About the vision, refer to the vision and the values of the business, and open the meeting with it. Or how did we perform this quarter according to our performance? How did it align to our values? Those discussions need to be had, and as we discuss them, and it's up to leadership to continue discussing them, so they will stay alive. And we need to hold each other accountable to it. And yes, I really enjoyed what you said about that. You know, your values are kind of the written and unwritten rules or your culture of the business. Because it's not, of course, you've got legal policy and procedure, but actually your values are just as important, and they're also rules of the business, but more from coming to Sondra, what you said is the feeling point of view. It's that feeling and behavior. And if you want to call somebody out on performance, you need to, if you want to call them out on performance, align to the culture or the values of the business. You need to have shared those values with them. But I want to go one step beyond that. Okay? It's no use discussing what service excellence or teamwork or team dynamics or high-performing teams or this is what we value, or we care, or we embrace change. Whatever those values are, have we discussed what they mean to each of us? Because service excellence, to me and to Lesetja and to you and to Hendrick and Sondra, we could all have different interpretations of service excellence. So it needs to be discussed. What is service excellence to the business? And the team need to agree and sign off on that. And when they have that, then you can hold them accountable to their performance aligned to that value. So instead of Peter saying to Stephen, what you did today was shocking, you were underperformed or whatever it is, because as soon as you say that to me, my defense mechanism is going to go up. But if you ask me, say to me, Stephen, tell me something. How did your performance today? Were you happy with it? How did it align to our value of service excellence? Now I've got to answer you. So there's a couple of things that come out of that. First, you're going to see how I think, okay, in terms of service excellence. Secondly, when I tell you that it didn't, okay, then I immediately, without doing anything, you've transferred ownership to me. Because then you can say to me, well, then if you didn't, what are you going to do differently next time to ensure that you do align to service excellence? And I have to tell you, this is what I'm going to do differently. So you've held me accountable, and that's where accountability comes in. It's not it's simple, but it's not easy. But if it's used consistently, okay, you will keep the culture going. And remember, everybody has an exit strategy in their business. And if you develop a good culture in your business, and you can develop your people to live that culture, you start making the business less dependent on you and more dependent on the culture of the business. And when you leave, or God forbid something happens to you, okay, the culture lives on. But sure, it's difficult. You know why? Because it requires time. And often we say we don't have time, but that's another story. And yeah, so I think that's the big thing. Shared values, shared vision, and are we talking about it? And are we holding each other accountable to our values and our vision? So I think it's a stack we can have a lot, and it'd be awesome to hear. See, Lesetja's got his hand up, and he's always got good input, and Hendrick. So
I love that. I love that.
I'll leave it there. And Sondra, yes, you can have feelings, and if your clients don't align, not only us, if your clients don't align to your culture, then maybe they shouldn't be doing business. Maybe you shouldn't be doing business with them.
Exactly.
And I don't say that arrogantly.
No, I mean, what I've definitely learned is my mental health matters as a business owner, and that if I can't protect that and take care of myself, then I can't grow a business. I can't have a business if I can't do that. So if the clients are not treating me with respect, and vice versa, if I'm not treating them with respect, then obviously that's not going to work, because I do value respect across the board for everybody. But yes, oh my gosh, so much good stuff. Mr. L, come on in.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And yeah, thank you, Sondra. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Mr. Levy, for your input. And I just want to maybe broaden it up a bit so that for those that don't understand what we're talking about when we talk about culture, we then begin to understand. So culture is not only in business, culture is everywhere. And I think Mr. Levy pointed out earlier, it's everywhere. I mean, sometimes you'll be talking and somebody will say to you, in my culture, that's not how we do things. You know, that's a culture. It's a set of rules. It's a set of beliefs amongst people. You know, our government has now changed. There's a government of national unity. The culture of the government is changing as well. It's not just one party ruling. There are now many parties ruling with a set of different beliefs, but they all have to subscribe to a certain culture of how things should be done in government. So it's very important for us to understand that culture is not only in companies or in corporate or in organizations, it's also in my house. In my house, there's a culture. There's a way of doing things. And those are the things that we agree upon. You know, as a business owner, you will have to set that culture. As a family man, I will have to sit down with my family and we establish what our culture is. When we eat, do we all eat at the table at the same time? Or can anyone be free and eat whenever they want to? You know, that's a culture that you develop. Now, coming back to organization or company or business culture, Mr. Levy rightly pointed there's no good or bad culture. It depends on what you are driving in your business. You know, an example you gave is some companies are profit driven. There's nothing wrong with that. When you come in, you know that I'm going to perform, and my performance will be based on income, nothing else. But then the lovely thing that you turn around and you mentioned is how you communicate your culture, how you communicate your expectations to your employees. Do you instruct them, which sometimes works? Do you ask them so that they can take ownership, which works? How do you, because for me, communication is very, very important. I think we dealt with it a while back. Communication in corporate, in companies. How do you communicate with your people? How do you communicate with your subordinates? How do you communicate with your clients? How do you communicate with your management? You know, so for me, communication plays a very, very important role in building a successful company culture. So company culture is also about who you are, which Peter mentioned, and just doesn't happen. It has to be made, which is correct, because the company culture is the personality of the company. We pick up what type of a company it is from the culture, from how management behaves, from how people behave, from how employees sell the company to other people. Because it's not only about money, there's also how I represent my company. What do you see, or what do you pick up when you engage with me regarding my company? You know, that for me is very, very important. Inside of building a good company culture, there's also teamwork. Mr. Levy alluded to that as well. Unfortunately, Mr. Levy, I think, Sondra, you are on your own, so there's no teamwork there. But in Explore ProTech, if we don't move and do things together and follow the Explore ProTech culture, we will not win. All the work that we're doing with Menkosa, Ignite program, and outside with other entrepreneurs will not work if there's no teamwork. If Peter says to me, I need you to do this for me, okay, I need to be able to do it, because he has realized, or he's picked up, that I'm able to do that for him. So let me do it. And we do it as a team. If I don't win, I go to Hendrick and say, Hendrick, please help me here. Give me a bright idea here. How can I do this? That is going to help. And I think that is going to build a good company culture. That is going to help in furthering the vision of the company. Thank you so much. And this is Lesetja from Litmok, your business development agents.
I love that. I love that, Mr. Al. Yeah, so much. And I do have a team. I have people like you. I actually have a tech person. Mr. Gareth is my tech guy. I have 2 VAs now. So I have a team. So I always feel there's never you're only solo if you choose to be solo in business. That is definitely my thought. You do not need to be solo in your business. That is a choice that you make, because you can join communities like this with amazing people. So I am privileged to have that. So Mr. Peter, come back on in.
What I'd actually like to do is I'd like to actually hand it over to Hendrick. I did start it off, and I'd actually be quite interested to hear what his thoughts, especially on this topic, because he functions in a different space to what we all function in. So I think that his particular opinion would be extremely relevant. And then also I've got something for the igniters happening in the background as well. So can I hand over straight to Hendrick? Awesome.
Evening, everyone. Thank you, Peter, for putting a spotlight on me again. Okay, so with regards to building a culture for any company, I think irrespective of what industry we're coming from, the basics are the same. Starting with people who like saying that it's not personal, it's just business. I think I agree with Mr. Levy that most of those people are just saying that to move away from being accountable. Because the moment you have your culture in place, it assists you to set up the rules of engagement. How do you want to work with people? How do you want to work with your clients? It's when it comes to your culture, again, I believe what's important, or how I think it would work best, is if your culture as an individual and those of your company, especially your core values, they align. Because the moment those align, it's very easy for you to invite people on the journey. It's very easy for you to invite people to come and say, this is what we believe in as a company. So this is what we want to achieve as a company. Again, I'm not sure who mentioned this, but there was someone who said that there are people who prioritize making money more in the business. Yes, we all want to make money. We all start businesses for the sake of making money, but it's very important to have systems in place of how you want to make your money. It does not assist for you to just go out there and try to make money at the expense of your relationships with the clients that you service, at the expense of your employees or the people that you work with. It's very important to have those set of rules that align to everyone, your employees. This is how we want you to behave in the company. The moment you have those in place, it will assist you in screening first people who are coming into the company, and also doing appraisals on actually trying to find out or to see the performance of your employees. You cannot just have a blank sheet and then tell me as an employee at the end of the day that you are not performing. What am I not performing based on? The moment I join your company, there should be a set of rules or guidelines as to this is how I want you to behave within the company. These are the things that I want you to achieve in the company. So the culture has to do more with what you want, where you are. Let's start with where you are and where you want to be in the next, say, 5 years. And then the guidelines of how you would like us to get there. Just as much as you must do that, we must not take away from people the free will or the opportunity for them to be free thinkers in the company. We need to have a culture of how to operate within the company, but we must make sure that it's easier for people to come forward with new ideas. It's easier for people to come. I mean, in the industry where I am in the mining and construction industry, 10 or so years ago, it was easier for these guys to come and say, okay, last year we had 4 fatalities within the company. Can we take it to 3 this year? And that's what was documented. That was what it was agreed on. And then nowadays you find them saying that we don't want any injuries on our sites. That's because the culture evolves. So I think it's very important to understand that just as much as we are growing as individuals, the company also needs to do the same. And the same way we are able to learn new things and find new ways of achieving very important things in life, the same needs to happen in the company. I've said this the last time, that it does not assist you hiring people who are highly qualified for you to come and micromanage them. So we need to make sure that when it comes to culture, when it comes to how everything is done or the rules of engagement in the company, you are open about it. You tell your clients, this is how we run our business. Yes, we'd like to go into business with you, but please don't come in and expect us to change how we're doing our business. So you need to know your values so that you do not lose who you are. And then you also know where you're going, because it's easier to invite people in and to work with people if you've got direction of where you're going. That's Hendrick from Teresano Earth Movers, your lifting and rigging specialist from Mpumalanga.
Hendrick, I couldn't be more ecstatic than I am at the moment. If we think about the journey that you've been on, yourself within your own space, and also yourself within the Ignite program from last year, and from where you were to where you are now, our experience of you has been nothing but an absolute joy. It's been incredible. And sometimes I catch those moments where you're saying something and I'm like, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. And I love that it comes from a perspective, from a space where you have a space full of employees. So that to me, I think what you're building is absolutely incredible. I want to step backwards just a second in regards to the Ignite program. And then this is, I think the proof is actually in the pudding. You can't just say, yes, this is what culture does, unless you can actually prove that that's exactly what it does. So there has to be some form of evidence. There has to be some form of, this is the power of it, and this is what it achieves. So if we look at the Igniters, and Hendrick will know firsthand from his experience last year, the students from this year will know because they're currently going through it at the moment. But in order to make the program a success, it's not just about getting a bunch of entrepreneurs that want to be future entrepreneurs and say, hey, right, here's all the information, let's learn and let's go. But in order to create a space for them to be able to learn in, we had to create a culture first, a culture where they can interact, a culture where they can speak their mind, a culture where they can speak their mind to their coaches, a culture where they are open to what the coaches say to them. The culture has to be created first, which, if I recall correctly, was started in the very first meeting that we had one-on-one before students were even chosen for the program. That's when the culture was started. What expectations do we have for the program? What is it going to be like to be in that space? How are you expected to interact? What are we looking to achieve? And I think if I look at the WhatsApp group, it's very simple. The WhatsApp group, students from last year, students from this year, one WhatsApp group, that group grows. The culture in that space is growing to the point where I can step back and I can watch the culture unravel as students are engaging with each other, engaging with their coaches, praising each other, encouraging each other, praising the coaches praising the students. That whole, where else does that exist? Are there other courses like that out there? Do they exist? Is it happening at the moment? Is this the future of where it's supposed to go? Are we on the forefront of doing something that hasn't been done before? I would like to think so. And then having watched Hendrick go through that journey and then sit here and deliver like that, put me in a pig pen and let me just roll around in the mud. I am happy. Brilliant. Mr. Levy, I see your hands up. Please go for it.
Yeah, I just love this subject because it's so powerful. So, yeah, what Hendrick said and Lesetja thing, I think one needs to understand just quickly because there's so much that can be discussed about this, but is what are the components that make up the culture of the business? And the key components are why the business exists, and I'll tell you why it's important. I won't tell you why the business exists. And then your values and your vision. And, you know, if you got those three components clear and they are shared with internally first, you know, then your foundation is extremely strong because it's the DNA of that makes up the DNA of your business. So the purpose of your business is extremely strong because when you deliver that message of why your business exists and what does it do, not for other people, what does it do in them, is when they've used your service or your product, what is their experience? Okay. When you talk about it, and you really honestly believe it and own it, well, you should. Otherwise, it shouldn't be your why or your purpose. And, you know, as the famous why guy, Mr. Simon Sinek says, when people believe what you believe, they will buy from you. But they won't buy from you if they do not believe what you believe. So that's the purpose of your business. Your vision is, as Hendrick said, where you're going, and it needs to be clear. And your values, again, guiding your behavior. But, you know, it was interesting talking about teamwork. So you can have teamwork, which can cover really a lot of things. So teamwork is not only for someone who's a solopreneur, as Sondra said, because as solopreneurs, we're all using outsourced people. And I know I was chatted to Hendrick uses people outsourced. If those people, just because they're not employed directly by Hendrick, doesn't mean that they shouldn't align to the culture of his business. Because if those people that he's outsourcing to impact his delivery to his clients, they should be part of his team. And if they don't align to his culture of his business, then my question is, why is he using them? So that's how powerful culture is. And I was challenged by a CEO in front of his leadership team who said to me when I was standing up talking about their values, he just stood up in the middle of the thing and he said, there's only one value, and that's shareholder value. And the reason I'm telling you is this because it was made mention of someone. So he has a person who straight away told me that he is profit driven. That's it. Just by that comment that he made. So we don't walk around telling people that, oh, we value teamwork, we value service excellence, we value respect, we value transparency. They will see it in your behavior and how you communicate with them and they will see it in your actions. Because when you live your values, the feedback that you will get from your clients will be, it was so wonderful dealing with Hendrick because he created such an experience. His service was excellent. Yeah, there's service excellent. Your clients will tell you whether you're living your values or not. It's the greatest feedback to get. Ask for testimonials. Listen to what they're saying. And I think that's important to understand is that culture. And then it grows. But when your business grows, it grows around that core. The DNA of your business, it can change. Of course it can. And you can add values to your business as it grows, and you can take some away, I suppose. And on Saturday with the Igniters, we were talking about this exact thing. And one of the values was that came up was in integrity. They say, well, what are you going to do? Because this is where the real test of values comes in. You're a startup. One of your values is integrity. You're really struggling because you need to get revenue. And someone approaches you and says, I've got a 2 million rand, I'm just using a figure, contract for you, and you've got good profit margins in it. But we're going to just do it a little bit, we're going to do a bit of a shady deal. And one of the guys said, like the brown envelope, said yes. And there was asked about, so what happens if you use the brown envelope? Well, if that's where the test of your values are going to come. Are you able to say to him at that point in your business where you really need that 2 million, are you able to say no? And if you're not able to say no and you accept the brown envelope, then you must go and take that value of integrity and just scratch it out because you're not living it. And that's where the test of values come in. And I know I've been there to your values already, not with the brown envelope, but testing your values. So yeah, it's exceptionally important.
I love that, Mr. Levy. I love that. Actions speak louder than words. You can talk a talk, and I've seen a lot of people talk great talks, and then when I see them behind the curtain of the business, I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. And I walked away.
Yeah.
I was like, no, thank you. I don't care that you make millions. I don't agree with your culture of your
It's
back
hard.
end. Yeah, it is. And I mean, I'm sure it could have, would have, should have, but yeah, in the end, it was more about my integrity and my own values. So,
Sondra, if I may, sorry, just before you go to the search, is that another way to continue your values, not just talk about them. Have your values framed nicely and have them and what they mean, and have them put all, if you've got a business that has administrative departments, manufacturing departments, warehouse facilities, these should be displayed so when people walk in, they see them. It's like advertising, where you see it every day that it sits here.
Exactly. And review
Make
them.
it visible.
Yep. And review them. Review. So you do know if you need to adjust or if you need to grow things. Okay. I'm going to take both hands because you both said you have one sentence each. Go, Mr. L.
Right. Yes, just one sentence that I wanted to say is no organizations or no number of organizations can have the same culture because your company is unique. Thank you.
Yep. There's only one you. There's only one Mr. L. And I'm grateful for that. Hendrick, go ahead.
So, in addition to what Mr. Lesetja just said now, I think when you're thinking about your culture as a business, you need to ask yourself a question. What happens when you or the company is challenged? What happens when you face challenges? That answer, that's where you will find your culture.
I love that. Hendrick. What happens in the hard times? For sure. Go ahead, Mr. Levy.
So even if you have, coming back to what Lesetja said was important, even if you have the same values, service excellence, my business can still be unique from Lesetja's because our interpretation of service excellence is different. And it's the one thing your competitors cannot copy from you is your culture.
Exactly. I love that. Mr. Peter, time flies when we're having fun, huh?
Oh, it definitely does, and I'm absolutely loving this because what we're seeing on the screen is just a small part of a larger group of people that share a larger culture, and this is just so to see it all line up is beautiful. One of the things I wanted to say very, very quickly, there's a saying that many hands or many heads make light work, which is true. But only if everyone has a voice. If you create a space where you go, my culture is, everybody's included, but only your opinion matters, then your culture is just lip service. It's a load of rubbish because nobody else's opinion matters. So let's not create spaces where it's lip service, because when you're creating spaces like that, then what you're doing is you're taking your culture, you're turning it into marketing. Look at our amazing empire. Our values are this. But it doesn't mean, okay, can I? Yes, it's my channel. It doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit because it's just lip service. If we want to create something in regards to the true power of culture, create something real that everyone can become a part of, because that's what culture is. Culture is a group of people coming together. That's culture. We have many of those cultures. Within South Africa alone, there's many cultures, and they're all beautiful. So respect what culture is, and it will work for you. on the back end, I just want to say to the Igniters, you guys are on an incredible journey. We love having you in our space. The coaches are absolutely besotted with our Ignite students, and I think the Ignite students are absolutely loving the coaches at the moment, or loving on them, according to Megan Deers. So the code word for this particular event will be hashtag warrior, not as in I'm worried, but as in I am a warrior with a sword and a shield, warrior. So you can take that code word hashtag warrior and you can send it in a personal message to Somerville. And you can make a little statement as to something that you've learned from this particular coffee shop conversation show. And then you can say that you have shared this. So if you are an Ignite student, share. Send the code word to Somerville and a little message of what you have learned. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Sondra, over to you.
I love that. I love that. I love it. Mr. Lee, culture is a glue that holds differences together. I love that, Mr. Levy. I live in a large college town of many. University of Michigan is a large melting pot of lots and lots of cultures. So we get to experience that all around us. We want to give a big shout out to speaking of Somerville, who does many things behind the scene. We have a saying in Explore Tech, get yourself a Somerville, you just can't have ours. And then Miss Susan, who is another amazing Explore ProTech member who does the descriptions, she does the show notes, and she turns our show into a podcast. So if you did not know that, come follow us on Spotify. I think you have to listen to like 3 episodes or something like that to give us a rating. And yeah, share, invite people to the show. And then, yes, like he said, make sure you give an individual message to Miss Somerville. She loves all of those. And then I do get to read those. So it helps me grow as a host. So I definitely appreciate any of the feedback because that helps me grow for sure. And then if you want to speak to any of these amazing people on the screen, our LinkedIn links are in the chat or in the show notes after Susan does it. So we will see you guys. Oh, wait, you have to give us a sign off, Peter. I'm sorry. I like jump on the gun.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. You know, and in reality, it's not even my sign off. It actually belongs to our co-founder, Ms. Nestine Buerter. And the famous saying is, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true. We'll catch you later.
See you same time, same place next week. Bye, guys.